Welcome to another episode of Revenue Leaders Uncovered. Super honored to be joined by Ryan today from Alysio. Ryan, if you can introduce yourself, but also your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Oliver. Great to be here. Big fan of your podcast. So yeah, I'm a co-founder of a company called Alysio. We launched about a year and a half ago. So we are a people performance management platform for go-to-market teams. So we help teams optimize their most valuable asset, which in most cases is their people.
Yeah, definitely. Look, obviously a really cool space. Why I reached out to you and wanted to get you on the show. What would be great, and I think the listeners would appreciate it, or potential clients, is what makes Alysio different to maybe one of your competitors.
Absolutely. So as a little bit of background, so Aaron and I started Alysio. He and I worked together in financial services. So we came from kind of an analytical background. He and I both wanted to get into tech sales. So I left the financial services company that we were at and joined a small data analytics company, helped them build out their go-to-market team and strategy. And then I left and did an MBA program. And then Aaron, on the other hand, went and started selling at Qualtrics. Qualtrics is a great success story here in Utah. Aaron learned everything he knows about sales from that organization. He was there through the SAP acquisition, and then went and sold for Okta in California, and then was recently at Lacework. So he spent about 8 years in sales. So he saw all of the tools out there. The idea for Alysio stems from Aaron's time at Qualtrics. While he was there, they had every sales tool under the sun. They were using Clary, Gong, Outreach, Salesforce. But for them, when it came to answering the question, what does a great day in sales look like? There was a gap for them. And so they created a spreadsheet and they assigned weightings to each revenue generating activity. And they quickly realized that there was a correlation between the teams that were using this spreadsheet and those that were going to President's Club and hitting quota. So Aaron decided to put this spreadsheet to the test. He took it to Okta, he took it to Lacework, and saw similar results. And that's when he called me and said, hey, why don't we try and productize this? And so to your question, how do we differentiate ourselves? When we look at the sales tool landscape, we break it into 3 categories. We say you're going to need data in 3 areas. The first being your customers, that's your CRM, HubSpot, Salesforce in most cases. The second being for your revenue or your deals, that's your Clary, Gong, Outreach, those types of tools. And there's a lot of consolidation right now in that category. And then the third category, we say you're going to need data for your people. And so that's the area that we're playing in and the area that we're looking to own.
Yeah, definitely. Look, awesome story. And also, I mean, yeah, those 3 companies that Aaron worked for, obviously pedigree companies that, especially Qualtrics. I mean, it's a great training ground for people, and it was a great company for people to grow through. I know the story a little well. I've actually recently filmed with someone from Qualtrics on the podcast. So, yeah, it's a really cool journey that you guys have been on. And the fact of, I was only talking to my mate the other day, there's something that I'm doing as a recruiter, and I was like, look, we've got to somehow monetize this or productize this, because it, and I think just the fact of you guys took that risk and are capitalizing upon it is awesome. I mean, from being a founder myself, that taking that risk of starting something, there's nothing more exciting than going on that journey.
And it's funny. I remember Aaron and I went back and forth on a number of ideas, and we landed on Alysio. And I remember Aaron called me one day. We got to the point where we were pretty close to breaking away from our prior jobs. And I remember he called me one day, I think it was November of 2022, and he said, hey, I'm quitting my job. I'm going all in. And so for me, I knew we would eventually do it, but taking that leap of faith was pretty hard. So Aaron did it, and then I left in December, and then we got the ball rolling. But it's a big leap of faith.
Yeah, definitely. It brings challenges, excitement, everything that you could want. Just give me 2 seconds. That's why we do things live. My charger fell out, and it's on about to die.
No, you're good.
They're all good. Where I'd like to take the conversation is a little bit about recruitment. Madness for getting the right team in place.
Yeah, and sorry, Oliver, it broke there for a second. Would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, no issue. Where I'd love to take the conversation is a little bit about your method of madness behind getting the right team in place when it comes to recruitment.
We've taken the perspective that the right people are going to opt in. So we know that that startups are hard. It requires effort that you may not typically have to give at an established company. So there are numerous days where we're working late into the night, or we're working with our development team in India, which requires either late nights or very early mornings. So we leverage our network as much as possible. Aaron comes from a strong sales background, so he's got a number of sales connections, and then we're all of us here on the team are tied to a number of sales organizations here locally, and so we leverage that as much as possible. We try and prioritize in office, an in office strategy so that we have everyone together. However, I think what's interesting right now is that if you find the right person, we'd be more than willing to allow them to work remotely. So I think ideally they're in office, but again, we want the best of the best on our team, and it's not for everyone. And so during our interview process, we try and outline that it's tough. Selling is tough. The hours can be tough, but what we're building is provide significant value, and we hope to kind of convey that message to all of the people that we recruit. And I think we try and paint a picture of what it's like to work at Alysio, and we love it, or else we wouldn't be doing it, but it's not for everyone. And so I think after we have those interviews, we try and really convey exactly what it's like. They're either going to opt in or opt out, and we want the people that opt in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, it's something in myself that to this day I haven't found someone that I'd want to bring in as a co-founder, or someone that I feel I want them to be brought in. And until I find someone that is got the same passion, drive, or just aligned in regards to, like, I've always found it hard hiring people, because I've always, wherever I've worked, whether it's not my company or somebody else's, I've always outworked people, and I'll happily say that. So I expect a certain level of standards, and it can be hard when people don't have that same drive or same motivations as you. So
Yeah,
it's something that I learned the last year when I was managing someone. It was a big learning curve. This is why this podcast started. It was an opportunity for me to learn, and lessons to be learned from it. But yeah,
and,
it's a
and I think one thing we realized is that, and I think someone actually told us this, is that it's impossible to be perfect from a hiring perspective. You're going to make mistakes. I think the important thing is to recognize those mistakes early, and as hard as it might be, it's important to let go of those people that aren't the right fit, especially in an early stage company, because there's not a lot of room for error. Time is of the essence. Every day counts, and so every day that someone's on your team who may not be contributing to full capacity, puts the company at risk.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, it is the last company I worked at, where I helped run it, was the reason why it sort of closed down was we hired poorly. It cost us an absolute fortune. We had nearly six reps at one point, and the only person who was doing any deals was me. And so, like, you're just hemorrhaging money at that point. And so that has been my bit starting this company. That's been the biggest thing in my mind, of like, I'm not rushing the process of that. I'm going to hire smart, and when I'm ready to hire and we're liquid enough to hire, to have enough runway, if they don't perform, then we're all good. I don't want to wreck something when it's going so well by myself already.
No, makes sense. And I think to your
Yeah.
point, it's critical. I think especially the first 10 employees of a company really dictate the future of the company. And I know, even though you may not have, a co-founder title, I view everyone on our current team as the founding team. And I think that hopefully incentivizes everyone to put in that additional effort, and hopefully they feel like they are part of the actual founding team, because I think they definitely are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my brother's in a small digital marketing firm, and he was one of the first 10 people to come in straight out of university. And he really, like, I've never seen a guy so passionate about a company that isn't his. But it's just because he knows the founder really well. He's brought in the founder, said that, look, you are this company, and that buy-in and getting that sort of buy-in from someone is so crucial early on, especially in a startup.
I couldn't agree more.
Where I'd love to take the conversation is a little bit about driving revenue. So I'd love to get your perspective on bringing in new business to Alysio, and how you guys are going about it in 2024.
Yeah, and this is a conversation that we have with all of our customers. We think about it obviously internally, but selling in 2024 is difficult, I think, across multiple industries. So typically, one of the first questions we ask our customers is, okay, how are you guys doing from a quota attainment perspective? And most companies, aren't doing too well. And so the second question we ask is, are you maximizing your resources, or are you ensuring that your team is having a great day in sales each and every day? And typically, customers can't answer that question, and this is kind of the problem that we're trying to solve. Because if you are maximizing your resources, hopefully you have better odds of hitting quota attainment. And so what we do at Alysio, and what we help our customers determine is what a great day in sales looks like. So that's what our whole platform's based around. So Aaron and I are the co-founders. He and I, implement our 10-point framework so that we know what a great day in sales looks like. And then we have, our founding sales team. All of them are, have their good day framework in place. And it's up to all of us to go and have a great day in sales each and every day. And again, at Qualtrics, when they were using the spreadsheet, they saw a correlation between the teams that were using it and those that were going to President's Club. And by implementing our own platform, we've been able to see decent success and a lot of momentum. And so that's what we're trying to help customers really understand is what a great day in sales looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think it's an awesome thing you're doing. It's something that I reflect on myself, of that. What's a good day in recruitment as a founder? I was actually talking to my girlfriend. She does recruitment as well, and she's saying, "Oh, I just felt like today wasn't that productive, but the things I've done will benefit outcomes." I'm like, "Well, what does a good day look like? What do you need to come from that day?" And it's actually, we were only talking about this yesterday, so it's funny we're actually filming the podcast today. But it's a really interesting topic, because it is hard to know what a good day looks like and what you should be getting from every day. Because I mean, for myself, every day is nearly different most days, because of being a founder. There's just stuff that just gets thrown on my desk all the time. And I know one of my mates he's got like a mindset coach at the moment, and they're saying, like, you've got to time manage, you've got to time block everything and work to those schedules and not deviate from it at all. But I mean, he's a founder as well, and literally his day is just different every day. He can't stick to it. He said he tries to, goes with the right intention of, but it's definitely a really interesting topic.
Absolutely. And our motto is empower the individual. And so, I know a lot of sales teams will say, hey, everyone needs to go do, 50 dials, 30 personalized emails, or something along those lines. We've taken a little bit of a different approach, because we know that every day is different. So you can get to your 10 points however you see best fit. So if your schedule is packed full of demos all day, you're likely going to get your 10 points. If not, you're going to have to spend your time on top of funnel activities, but you can still, you'll still get to your 10 points. So it's flexible based on what you have scheduled on any given day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, where I'd love to get your perspective on is actually identifying future leaders. What sort of characteristics are you looking for in these individuals?
I think leadership is probably one of the most difficult things to find. I think a lot of people are smart. A lot of people have grit, but not a lot of people are good leaders. And I do think that the leadership skill set can be developed over time. So, and it's interesting. I love the topic. I actually there was a minor where I went to school called leadership studies. So I minored in leadership studies. I think one of the easiest ways to determine if someone is a good leader is to see if they've had prior leadership experience and then ask their subordinates. I think that's one of the best signals. I think another approach is taking a chance on people. And I think in order to recognize if someone has, a good leadership skill set or leadership potential is if they've shown small signs of it. I think everyone in any organization can show signs of being a good leader. I think it takes, being proactive, taking initiative. I think, on a sales call, I think, for example, if someone is being proactive and, gathering the team together to prep for the call, put together, a presentation. I think if, an AE were to do that, to me, that would be a sign of leadership potential. And so I think, again, I think you can approach it from two ways: either take a chance on people who internally who have maybe shown signs of leadership potential, or you can leverage prior experience and validate that through talking with team members.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something I filmed a podcast yesterday with someone else, and we were talking about this topic. And it really is, if you want to be a leader, the easiest and fastest route to get there is just by showing it internally and taking the self initiative. You will get noticed. And whether it's your manager, your line manager notices, or actually, as you said, talking internally of like, okay, cool, what do you think of this person's traits? If you go about yourself and put yourself in the leadership shoes, by the time you take that leadership role, which you will get there eventually, you would have already felt like you've been doing that role for months or years. And so it shouldn't ever be, oh, this is a shock, I don't know what I'm doing. Then that's probably a strong sign that you probably shouldn't be a leader because you haven't been doing it. I find it a really interesting topic when I was chatting to the guy yesterday about it. And I wanted to obviously bring it up again.
Yeah, great point.
What I'd love to get your perspective on is a little bit about work-life balance. I know as a founder myself, I've struggled with it and I've started to get a bit better with it. But I'd love to know what you've done to find balance between life and work.
Yeah, I struggle with it as well. I think it's hard to assess work-life balance on a daily or even weekly basis. I think having more of a long-term perspective is helpful because it's really hard to maintain a work-life balance on a daily or weekly basis. But if you take a step back and look at the prior month, look at the prior quarter, look at the prior year, I think you can determine if you've been able to have a successful work-life balance. Because again, not every day, not every week is. I think you're not gonna be able to have that perfect balance, given we all lead hectic lives. So I think having that long-term perspective is helpful. Another analogy that I heard is that we're all juggling either glass or rubber balls. There are certain balls or certain aspects of our life that can't drop. But there are certain aspects of our life that can drop and bounce back up. And so I think determining what those glass balls are, or the most important aspects of your life, is a good first step in making sure that those pieces don't fall. So typically, family, work, I would consider, glass balls, you can't drop those. And so I think prioritizing the glass balls and sometimes letting those rubber balls fall, but again, bounce back up when the time is right.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier of what does a great day in sales look like for you? And I think that for myself, it could be that I'm having a day full of outcomes, or that I just need to crack on and just get stuff done. Or in some cases, like today, Wednesday is a day where I allow myself to go and play cricket in the evening. I have cricket training, and that to me is a great day for sales because I get my stuff done. And obviously I do the US hours from the UK. So I start at midday and I finish at midnight, whatever it be. But this is the only day of the week that I go, right, okay, we're spending a bit of Ollie time, we'll go and train cricket, and I come back and I switch back on, I get on with it. That's a great day of sales. But then like yesterday, I know that we've got July the 4th. So I was from meetings from 12 till midnight, pretty much flat out, apart from when I had my dinner. But each day is different. And I love the fact that you talked about, like, obviously you got non-negotiables of what you can remove and what you can't. Family, friends, whatever it be, they are always going to come first for me. And that sometimes the company does take over. Like this weekend, I wanted to go and play. I got invited to go and do a golf tour with the boys. I can't do it. I need to work this week, and I've got to catch up. I've just got back from Ibiza, so you got to juggle everything, and you got to pick your moments. But yeah,
it's a great point. And I think to your point, I think having, the courage to say no to certain things really helps with work-life balance, because I think a lot of requests or demands will come into our life, and just, I think sometimes it's hard to say no, but by simply saying no, I think it helps with, again, kind of prioritizing the non-negotiables in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what? It's actually a trait that I struggled with. Not saying no to the socializing, but actually learning to just say no, even to clients. Of the If they're throwing it, like for example, in recruitment, we get our time wasted a lot. We work on contingent basis a lot of the time, so against other recruiters, or most of the time they're just pulling your leg, seeing if they can find a great candidate, and
Yeah.
that is it. But I used to be someone that would see, I'm very optimistic. That's me as a person. And so I'd think, oh, I could maybe fill this. Ended up 6-7 hours of my time wasted, and with no money to show for it. So actually learning to say no to certain clients when they're giving you a stupidly low salary, they're not respecting your time, or not giving you the attention that you need to do your job properly. That took me a long time to, and I wish I'd developed that trait sooner. Yeah.
Great. I mean, it's a great point, because I think it's something that we've discussed as well, because I think we need to narrow in on our ICP, and having conversations with people or customers that fall outside of that ICP, can be a time suck.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. ICP and me have always been a struggle.
Okay.
This is why my company does sales in general.
Yeah.
But I found I'm a big believer that the ICP will find you depending on what you do for an industry. So for myself, like my ICP has found me. I do a lot of work in security. For some reason, I do a lot of work in construction tech, which makes no sense. I never thought I would ever even touch construction tech, but it's probably one of my highest earners for this year for me. And so I'm a big believer that these things will find you. And when you suddenly land in one ICP, it's like a snowball effect of that you just keep rolling with it. And I think as well, and it's something that I've been advised a lot on the podcast, I don't know how you feel about this, but it takes years sometimes to find an ICP. And especially in a startup, that will evolve, or that will change. What you think's right now, in 6-7 months, it might not be. This is why we do A and B testing. If you're not doing it, you're probably pigeonholing yourself very early on.
Couldn't agree more. It's a great point. I think when we think about our ICP, we've always had this, this idea of what it is, and I think it's important for us to be open-minded, because like you said, it may be different in the future. But what I love about, people who take the risk to build a startup is that I think in most cases, you wouldn't find out what your ICP really is unless you take that risk and you're actually like building a business, because you can sit on the sidelines and guess or assume what your ICP would be. But like, in your case, it sounds like, the construction opportunity has been great for you. You probably wouldn't have come across that opportunity unless you were actually, building a business.
Exactly. And when I say it's been the best, it's been the one where I think, because I've immersed myself so much into this market somehow now, that I'm getting referrals, clients coming in, and I've done loads of work in cybersecurity over the past few years. But this market just seems to be one where it's just referrals, people passing you information. I used to do construction recruitment, and that was how I originally opened this client. Was they just went, "Can you do this?" I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, I did construction recruitment for 3 years. I know a little bit. Never did salespeople in that space, but yeah,
I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's good fun. I think you find yourselves in scenarios which you never expected you to be, and I think that's the fun thing of being a founder. you meet the most random people at the most brilliant times. That's the only way I can put it. And I have one final question for you before I let you go. I always ask everyone at the end of the podcast, if you could give one piece of advice to 26-year-old Ryan, what advice would you give him?
Great question. I think I would tell myself to, I think, in your 20s, I think you have such an opportunity to learn as much as possible and become really an expert in a certain field. And I just think in your 20s, you have more time. It's really kind of the decade to learn. And then I view the 30s as kind of your decade to execute. And so I would tell my 26-year-old self to become an expert in a certain field, to learn as much as possible. I'd probably advise myself not to jump into building a business until I really had that foundational skill set or knowledge. And so I would say, hey, continue working, continue grinding, and then once you get into your in your 30s or so, that's the time when you can break away and build your business.
Yeah, I love that advice. I am 26, so started a company a little bit earlier, but to be honest, it was one of those things, and this was quite a fun story, really. That I started the company. Basically, the company I was working for previously, the founder was really young. I was young, and we had a great time. It was one of my best mates from university that just basically asked me to come over, paid me a shitload of money to do so, and it was great. And then he just one day just went, mate, I'm going to close the company. I don't like recruitment anymore. I want to go and be an online personal trainer. I was like, he's crazy like that, in a sense of like, if he gets an idea, he just goes and he runs with it. It's why he's been really successful in what he's done. And so I was like, crap, I'm left in the dark here. So he just went, mate, start your own company. I've always wanted to, and I always thought I'd do it in my 30s, like you said. But then what I said was, okay, just start it, continue what you're doing. Nothing changes. You've got your clients, and everyone, like, it's a conversation. I was talking to someone about one of my advisors the other day. He was like, mate, I think it's about time you scale the company. And I went, you know what? I don't really want to. I want to spend the next potentially 2-3 years working by myself, building a company, getting to know how to run a company, how to manage people, just constantly learning and developing. And then when I'm 29, 30, as you said, then we can grow. We can execute. We can execute what we learn. I should hopefully be in a better situation of, I can nearly look at 30 being the start of a new company.
That's a good. Yeah, I have great approach. And for me, I think, I mean, it sounds like you had a great opportunity. I think there's no better way to learn than really just diving into the deep end. And so, yeah, I think that's great. I think everyone's situation is different. So I think it's important to really take advantage of opportunities, because if it does come before 30, I think you should absolutely do it. So yeah, no, it seems like you're on to something great.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how it all goes, and it's been a fun journey so far. I was filming a few new bits of content this morning, and I was talking about the journey so far. And I mean, it's 7 months. I was only speaking to my accountant the other day, and he went, "Mate, your books are an absolute mess." He's like, "Why are you putting it in this section? This section?" I just turned around to him. And he's a family friend. And I went, "I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I know how to recruit really well. Like, I'm a very good recruiter. I'll blow my own trumpet, but like, yeah, just that side, no clue." I said, you're just gonna have to guide me. I was like, I'll pay you extra money if needs be, if you've got to spend more hours doing X, Y, and Z. But yeah, so we're getting there, we're learning it, and I think it's just part of the fun. That whole side excites me. It's stuff that I love not knowing, but I love knowing how to. And that part is the not knowing at the moment.
And that's part, I think that's part of the fun of building a startup, is you can bring together, put together a team. Every individual has his or her strengths, and it's just fun to see everyone bring their talents and skills to the team, because it's hard to be an expert in multiple different aspects of the business. But I think if you bring everyone's talents together and knowledge, is when you can have a successful company.
Definitely. Well, look, I can't thank you enough, Ryan, for your time today. It's been awesome chatting with you. and obviously getting some of your wisdom down. And obviously, I wish Alysio all the best of luck. I'm sure you guys are going to crush it.
No, we appreciate that. We'll have to get Aaron on the podcast. He'd be a good guest for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm happy. I'd love to obviously have a chat with him. It'd be good to hear about that sort of lace work, Oxo, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But obviously, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Oliver. Appreciate it.
Cheers.